Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Number 10. The Gate of the Gods. Luis Delgado Mamani was a local tour guide in Peru in the 1990s. He was the man who accidentally stumbled upon the archaeological treasure of Aramumuru, deep in the Andes Mountains. The site is also called Puerta de Ayumarca, or the Gate of the Gods. It's one of the most controversial archaeological sites in all of South America, with numerous theories relating to its origins and its purpose. Aramumuru isn't a city or a crumbling temple, it's simply a gate. It is a huge door-like structure carved out of the mountainside near the sacred cultural center of Lake Titicaca. The door is 23 feet high and has a deep circular depression at its center. Mainstream archaeologists think the gate was used in ceremonies, or it had something to do with astronomy. But the truth is that nobody even knows who built it. The door was likely carved by a civilization that came years before the Inca. Some have even suggested aliens. Many believe Aramumuru was a portal used to travel from one place to another. It's been associated with the Sumerians of Mesopotamia and even with the Anunnaki. There are many who believe the Gate of the Gods was once an active stargate, but has since been decommissioned. What do you think? Do you believe in stargates? Let me know in the comments. Number 9. Baby Buddha. In 2018, a documentary was made about the French exploration of Australia. During the documentary, the team used metal detectors way out in the remote region of Western Australia. As they were waving their metal detectors over the ground, they picked up a signal. After a bit of digging, the team pulled out a Buddha statue that had been buried in the earth. The Buddha statue appears to be over 500 years old, and nobody knows how it got there. At first, international experts laughed at the discovery. They called the filmmakers liars and believed it was an elaborate hoax. However, BBC's Antiques Roadshow recently confirmed the discovery as 100% authentic. They really did find a Buddha statue from the 15th century in the Australian desert. Filmmakers Leon Deschamps and Shane Thompson are now trying to figure out how the baby Buddha got to the place they found it. Antiquities experts with the BBC say the bronze Buddha figure was made hundreds of years ago in China. It's just over 2 pounds and likely came from the Ming dynasty. Now, the experts are starting to wonder if travelers from ancient China hadn't reached Australia hundreds of years ago. It's a controversial theory, but one with some evidence to back it up. Buddhism has been around since at least the 5th century BC. It wouldn't be that surprising to think that some Ming Dynasty explorers reached Australia, got lost in the desert, and lost track of their Buddha statue. For all we know, the bones of those explorers are still out there, somewhere deep under the desert sand. And now for number 8. But first, it's shout-out time! I want to say a big thank you to Patricia Green and Charlie Knight for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like these. Number 8. Sigurd Snake in the Eye. There are a lot of controversial figures from Viking history. One of them is Sigurd Snake in the Eye, a man who may or may not have existed. Sigurd is a legendary Viking warrior who historians say could have ruled Denmark in the year 873. According to ancient Viking texts, Sigurd's snake in the eye was one of Ragnar Lothbrok's sons. Ragnar was yet another historical Viking who may be nothing more than a character in a story. His other son was said to be Ivar the Boneless, someone who definitely did exist. Ivar brought his Viking hordes to England and waged war across the British Isles. There is very little evidence that Ragnar Lothbrok ever existed. He was only immortalized about 350 years after his alleged death, thanks to fables written down in Iceland by Vikings who had only recently moved there. Legend says Ragnar was captured by King Ella and thrown into a pit of snakes. Shortly after that, in 865, his sons arrived with the great heathen army and attacked. The issue with Ragnar's story is that it's right on the edge of myth and reality. The great heathen army really did attack East Anglia, but the dramatic tales of Ragnar were likely embellished by the writers. In terms of evidence, this is what we have. There are two references to a famous Viking raider appearing in 840 AD, written by the Anglo-Saxons. They mentioned somebody called Ragnar, who may have been Ragnar. The French wrote that he died, while the Irish wrote of a famous Viking named Ragnar establishing a settlement near Dublin in 851. But unfortunately, there isn't a single piece of physical evidence that Ragnar ever existed. Number 7. A lost chamber in the pyramid. Egyptologists recently announced the shocking discovery of a secret chamber inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. The discovery is hugely controversial, mainly because no one can explain it. A group of scientists scanned the Pyramid of Khufu using cosmic rays to identify a 30-meter-long corridor. The empty space is directly above the pyramid's main entrance. The corridor is massive, but only adds to the riddle of the world's most famous ancient monument. While there is a lot of debate over what the pyramid was used for, most mainstream archaeologists agree it was built as a tomb. I mean, some say it was a giant battery to power alien ships, but that's not really clear. The tomb was for Pharaoh Khufu, who ruled 4,500 years ago in the 26th century BC. This isn't the only time a pocket of space has been found in the pyramid. In 2015, a group of scientists from the Nagoya University of Japan, along with some others, found a different secret room. There are now multiple pockets in the pyramid that nobody can explain. The newest corridor appears to be leading somewhere, possibly to a sealed door. There could be a never-before-seen room hiding deep in the pyramid, only accessible if half the pyramid is torn down. What do you think is in this secret room? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Number 6. The James Ossuary. In the 1st century AD, the bones of the dead were often put in limestone boxes called ossuaries. In 2002, the existence of an extraordinary box of bones was announced in Washington, of all places, at a press conference headed by the Discovery Channel and the Biblical Archaeology Society. They announced the discovery of the James Ossuary, an ancient crate of human remains with a very peculiar inscription on it. The inscription is in Aramaic and says, "James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus." The ossuary gained immediate attention because of its apparent connection with the Holy Family. If the script on the box is to be believed, this truly holds the bones of Jesus' brother. The ossuary was found near the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Out of the thousands of ossuaries here, it's the only one claiming to be filled with James's bones. André Lemaire was the man who initially translated the Aramaic. Everything seemed to be confirmed until the Israel Antiquities Authority got involved in 2003. They argued the inscription to be a forgery, and then in 2004, the man who owned the ossuary, Oded Golan, was charged with 44 counts of forgery and fraud. His trial went on for 7 years before he was finally acquitted of forgery. Instead, he was only convicted of illegal trading in antiquities. Experts have still yet to reach a conclusion on if the James Ossuary is legit or nothing but a clever fake. Number 5. The Roswell Rock. In 2004, Robert Ridge of New Mexico discovered a rock. Robert was about 11 miles from the internationally famous Roswell crash site when he found this mysterious rock. The Roswell site was where a UFO allegedly crashed in 1947. The UFO was then taken by the military to their secret base at Area 51. We've never had any kind of confirmation from the government that there was truly an alien crash, but many people believe it's all part of a cover-up. Whatever the case is with Area 51, the Roswell site continues to attract people from all over the world. Robert Ridge was a little shocked when he came across a rock with a very peculiar pattern on it in the desert. It looked like it was carved with crop circle symbols. The rock is extremely smooth, almost too smooth, and on its surface is what appears to be a machine-carved picture of a crop circle, the same kind that was popping up in random fields and farms in the 1970s. It's fairly obvious the rock isn't prehistoric, because whoever made the symbol must have used modern technology. It looks like it was engraved using a laser. The discovery of the rock was immediately controversial. Most people say Robert is a hoaxer and the rock is a fake, and others believe it's proof of extraterrestrial contact. What do you think? Number 4. The Garden Tomb. In 1867, the most controversial tomb in religious history was unearthed in Jerusalem. Experts uncovered a tomb cut into the rock that took the world by storm. It's called the Garden Tomb, and many believe it was the site where Jesus Christ was buried and resurrected. But there is no end to the controversy. Protestants wholeheartedly believe the tomb was once occupied by Jesus. Yet mainstream archaeologists like Gabriel Barkay trust in science. Gabriel was the one who dated the tomb as being carved in the 8th century BC, 800 years before the birth of Christ. It's possible that Jesus was buried in a reused tomb, something not uncommon in the 1st century. However, Jesus being placed in a used tomb would directly contradict the Bible. That's because the Bible claims Jesus had his own tomb made by Joseph of Arimathea. There is another piece of science that doesn't agree with the Protestant theory. The trough in front of the tomb, connected to a nearby cistern, dates to the Crusader period of the 13th century AD. None of the dating lines up with the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and for that reason, nobody can officially say whether Jesus was truly buried in the Garden Tomb. Nobody knows who was buried in this mysterious rock-cut tomb, or where their body went. Number 3. Abraham's Well. The story of Abraham's well is one of the most important entries in the Bible. After the birth of his son Isaac, Abraham had a dispute with Abimelech over the use of a particular well. After the pair settled their dispute by having a festive meal, Abimelech returned to the land of the Philistines, and Abraham planted a giant tree next to his well. The well became known as the Beersheba, or the Well of the Oath. It would be in later chapters of the Bible that Abraham's son Isaac fought for possession over the well with the Philistines. The story of Abraham and his well is one of courage, sacrifice, peace, and hospitality. Abraham really does serve as the starting point for the 3 major Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The controversial thing about Abraham's well is that it's a real place in Israel on the outskirts of Beersheba. This is a real place. Yet it was mentioned in the book of Genesis over 2,000 years ago. There are dozens of historic wells in Beersheba, but only one traditionally called Abraham's Well. According to the Jerusalem Post, the well receives roughly 25,000 visitors at its small museum every single year. People truly believe the well, which is currently protected behind metal railings, was dug by Abraham himself. Number 2. Spanish Hill. Spanish Hill is one of the most bizarre archaeological sites in North America. That's primarily because most people know nothing about it. The hill is in the shape of a sugar loaf, located near the Chemung River in New York State. This was land that belonged to the Susquehanna before the Europeans arrived and took it away. The hill is unique in that it's unusual for where it is. It's nowhere near a hilly region and looks like an artificial lump of dirt dumped in the middle of a flatland. Plus, it has a weird outline, suggesting that the dirt was piled there on purpose. There are also a handful of fortifications on the top that date back unknown centuries. Archaeologists took note of the mysterious hill in the early 20th century, but there were few investigations done and it became a popular picnic location for locals. Houses were built around the hill, and these days it's covered in no trespassing signs. The original ruins have mostly been destroyed by the farmer who took control of most of the land. So what's so controversial about Spanish Hill? Many believe the hill represents ancient fortifications from centuries ago. This may have been a stronghold for a local Native American culture. We know people lived here over 1,000 years ago, perhaps even earlier. Spanish Hill may have been built for use by shamans who gathered in crude ceremonial enclosures at the summit and conducted rituals. But we'll never know the truth since so much of the land has been destroyed and neglected. Number 1. The Tartaria Tablets. In 1961, archaeologists came across a trio of mysterious tablets at a Neolithic village in Romania. The tablets remain shocking to this day because they are inscribed with what appears to be Vinca symbols, and perhaps the earliest form of writing in the entire world. The tablets go back 4,700 years. At least they do officially. Some believe they date even further back, 7,500 years, to the beginning of human civilization. The biggest issue is that ever since archaeologist Nicolae Vyasa discovered the 3 tablets, no one has been able to agree on an interpretation of the inscriptions. Some scholars have attributed the tablets to the Danube civilization. Others believe the script is some kind of early Sumerian. The Neolithic village of Tartaria existed in 2700 BC. In all likelihood, the tablets can't be older than that. Still, the writing system represented on the tablets is unknown. Nobody has ever deciphered the symbols. We don't know if it's writing from an ancient European culture or if these scribbles predate the earliest Sumerian cuneiforms. The whole thing is a controversial mystery. Thanks for watching! Which mystery is your favorite? What do you want to learn more about? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you later. Bye!